Hola y bienvenidas a Sex in Spanglish, where we empower mujeres to get in touch with their bodies, own their pleasure, and where we discuss all the cochinadas our abuelas didn't tell us about. My name is Ana Lopez. I'm a sexpert, future doctora, certified sex and life coach, proud Latina, and your go-to guide for all things sex. I'm here to help you kick vergüenza to the curb and teach you to have guilt-free sexual pleasure. Basically, I'm here to help you have mind-blowing sex without the guilt and shame you learned to have growing up. Let's be real. La comunidad latina doesn't talk about sex, pero que suerte tienes because this Latina does. It is my vision to have Latinas worldwide discussing sex with one another, just like they do with chisme. Así que prepárate. I'm about to change the way you view sex para siempre. There are only 3 things that you need in order to have mind-blowing sex on demand: an understanding of your body, the ability to effectively communicate that, and the skills of rest and rejuvenation. And there are 2 ways I want you to begin thinking about your body: sexually and holistically. So think about sexually as like what you like and don't like, what your sexual preferences are. So maybe you like your nipples touched but not your ass, or vice versa. Or maybe you love vaginal penetration but you hate anal, or vice versa, right? So they're really just sexual preferences. And then when we think of holistic, what I am talking about is anything that has to do with your body outside of sexual health. So what your body looks like, what's normal for you, right? What your health status is. So some examples could be like what your cycle looks like, what it feels like when you're coming down with something, right? When you're getting sick, physical limitations, your emotional well-being, what your body looks like. And I want you to think, when I say what your body looks like, I want you to think about it. If you are a parent, I want you to think about what it would be like if you knew your body in the same way that you knew your infant's body. So even for those of you that are not parents, you can just imagine if you had a baby, what that experience would be like, right? Of like knowing your baby's body so intimately, because you are the one that is taking care of that baby. You know every mole and freckle, every birthmark, right? Like you know your baby very intimately because your baby cannot speak for themselves. And I want you to know your body in the same way. So again, sexually and holistically are 2 of the ways I want you to begin thinking about your body. And in today's episode, we're going to take a deep dive into understanding your body, specifically in the sexual realm. Both sexually and holistically, or the sexual and holistic categories are very heavy, information heavy categories, at least the way that I break them down. And so I wanted to be able to take a deep dive into each and give them their own episode. So in today's episode, we're going to be diving into understanding your body sexually. Stay tuned for next week when we're going to be talking about understanding your body holistically. So to be clear, I want everyone listening to this episode to have mind-blowing sex on demand. And even if you never have sex again, I still want you to have an understanding of your body. This isn't just about sex. Yes, I want you to have mind-blowing sex on demand, and this is about you in general as a human being. I want you to have an understanding of your body. It is so important. That said, I'm recording this episode with the assumption that you do want to have mind-blowing sex on demand, so I'm going to talk about understanding your body sexually. And next week, I'm going to talk about understanding your body holistically. So again, we're going to be talking about understanding your body sexually. And in this episode in particular, I'm going to be giving you some tangible topics, or tangible techniques rather, but I want you to keep in mind that this isn't something you're going to learn overnight. It takes time, right? Getting to know someone takes time. This also isn't something you're just going to check off your to-do list. It's an ongoing process. And I'm actually continually learning about myself to this day, and I study this and I teach it to you all, right? It is a process. It is an ongoing thing. In the same way that you might continually get to know your partner, or even like your family members and close friends, right? Like you're constantly learning things about them. Like, sure, you know, like the basics, and that's fine and dandy. but there are constantly things that you are learning about them, and I want you to treat yourself the same way. So I'm going to invite you to think about this as something you're never going to stop doing, because this is going to take the pressure off to learn everything right away, and it's going to lead you to learning even more about yourself in the long run. So with that in mind, let's dive in. I'm going to give you some questions here that are straight from Operation Orgasm, my online independent study course that teaches you everything you need to know about having mind-blowing sex on demand. And you can learn more about joining that in the show notes. It is $69 for lifetime access. So first and foremost, you already know some things that you like. So I want you to start there, right? Whenever I talk about getting to know your body, I feel like most people that I talk to freeze. They're like, oh, like, where do I even begin? Like, there's so many things that I don't know, right? That's where their mind goes, and that's likely where your mind went as well. But I want you to know every single person listening to this knows something about their body. And for the purposes of this episode, knows something about their body sexually. You already know things that you like. So I want you to start there. So step 1 is listing at least 3 things that you like. And then once you've listed those things, I'm going to pause a second, write those things down. I want you to ask yourself, why do you like those things? Not because you have to justify why you like those things, but we really want to get clear on like what it is about that thing that you like. Because what you all do is you're like, well, I like oral, or I like anal, or I like nipple play, or like whatever it is. And you get stuck on very specific acts, very specific positions, very specific body parts and things like that, and then you limit yourself, which doesn't lead to mind-blowing sex on demand. It leads you to putting yourself in a box, and then if you don't get that thing, then you don't enjoy yourself. So you really want to get clear on why you like the things that you do. And once you've listed that, I want you to think for each thing that you listed, I want you to write what are 3 other ways you can get those things. Okay, so again, list 3 things you like. Why do you like each of those things? And for each of those things, what are 3 other ways you can get those things? So ultimately, you should end up with 9 ways to get the things that you like. So I'm going to provide an example because you're probably like, what the fuck are you talking about? Okay, so these are just some examples that I made up off the top of my head. Okay, so let's imagine that you like oral, right? You're like, yes, I love my vulva being eaten out. Yes. Okay, why do you like that? Maybe you like it because you like your clit being stimulated with something other than a finger, right? So maybe typically during sex, like you're stimulating yourself or your partner's stimulating yourself, right? You're stimulating, geez, your clit, right? And maybe you're like, sometimes it's nice to not have a finger there. Great, but you still want the stimulation. Ultimately, the reason why you like being eaten out is because you like your clit being stimulated with something other than a finger, and tongues are typically soft and they're moist, and so it makes it easy for stimulation without being too harsh, right? And they can move in more ways than a finger typically. Anyway, I digress. Okay, what are 3 other ways you can get that same stimulation? Now notice that we aren't trying to replicate the what, which is the eating out. We are trying to replicate the why, which is the clit stimulation, because this gives us so much more to work with. If you're just trying to replicate how you can get eaten out, you're going to have less options. When in actuality, it's not like, yes, you like your pussy being eaten. Okay, fine. But that's not that's not really what it is. That's just like a way to get your clit stimulated with something other than a finger. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so 3 other ways that you can get your clit stimulated with something other than a finger. You can use toys that are made for clitoral stimulation. You can use, if you're having sex with someone that has a penis, you can use penis stimulation, right? You can use like a silk handkerchief to rub. You can do it, or your partner can do it. You can even use, and I'm giving you a bonus one here, positions that prime you for clit stimulation. So maybe you on top or in missionary, depending on your anatomy and your partner's anatomy. You might find that with certain partners, missionary might work, for example, and with other partners, like it doesn't work at all, and so you have to like change positions, right? And that is normal. So I just want to point that out. If you're having sex with multiple partners, or you're used to your clit being stimulated in missionary, for example, and now you have a new partner and it's not being stimulated at all, you're like, what the fuck? You might just need to change positions, because it's not just about like your like genitalia matching up a little bit differently. It's also your body types matching up differently. So just keep that in mind. Second thing second example of something you might like. Let's say you like making out during sex. Okay. Why do you like making out during sex? Well, you feel connected with your partner when you make out. Okay, great. What are 3 other ways you can get connection with your partner during sex? Make eye contact, right? Maybe you practice active meditation, and you're probably like, what the fuck is active meditation? I've done an entire episode on that already, and it's called Meditate for Better Sex. So go back and listen to that. I can actually give you the date that it came out. Okay, maybe I can't. On my YouTube channel, it's March 27th, 2024, if that is helpful, but it's called Meditate for Better Sex. So if you just put that in your search engine, you will probably find it. Okay, another way is to ensure that you include things you both like throughout the session, right? So maybe it's not just like, oh, I really like this thing, or like my partner really likes this thing. It's like, what is something that you both really enjoy, and ensuring that you get some of that in the session, right? Third example, doggy style. Let's say you really like doggy style. Okay, cool. Why do you like it? Maybe it's more comfortable for you in that position, right? In terms of like, I don't know, you just don't like laying down, whatever the fuck, right? The point is, my example is, it's more comfortable. And you also like the deeper penetration that it brings. Okay, great. We have 2 whys. So what are 3 ways that you can get either a more comfortable position, and deeper penetration? And actually, for this example, now that I'm reading it out loud, if this is you, if you say, hey, it's more comfortable, why is it more comfortable? I want you to also answer that question, right? Is it more comfortable than a specific position? Is it more comfortable because maybe your knees don't hurt or your back don't hurt? Or like, I want you to get really specific with these answers, because the more specific you are, the more information you're going to get. So what are 3 ways that I can get more comfortability or deeper penetration? So maybe lying on your side with the penis owner behind you if you're having sex with someone that has a penis, right? So lying on your side. That, let's just imagine the more comfortability was because other positions put pressure on your knees, for example. Okay, so maybe lying on your side puts less pressure on your knees or less pressure on your joints. And so you can get both deeper penetration and the comfortability by lying on your side with the penis owner behind you. You can also use a penis extender in different positions. So maybe missionary, for example. You can use a penis extender. So not only that, not only will you get deeper penetration, particularly if your partner isn't like packing, you can get the deeper penetration, but it's also, more comfortable for your joints, presumably, if you're laying on your back. You can also, if you're going to be in missionary, you can also put your knees up or your legs up behind your head. That is going to allow for deeper penetration, particularly if your partner is not packing again and you want deeper penetration. That is an option as well. Another way is you can lie flat on your stomach with a pillow underneath your pelvis. That is going to provide deeper penetration and presumably be more comfortable than potentially being on top, for example. So again, these are ways that you can figure out what it is that you like. Well, not even figure out what it is that you like, because you already fucking know. But I want you to get really clear on why is it that you like what you like. Again, not because you have to justify it, but because we want to get more information about you, right? This is about understanding you and what makes you tick, okay? And it's opening up doors for you to get more of what you like because you have more options, right? Like, let's imagine we're thinking about food for a second, and you're like, well, I only like steak. Like, that's it. I only like steak. Like, okay. But why do you like steak? It's like, oh, well, I really like the texture and I like the taste. And like, so instead of spending all your time trying to get steak, like maybe you are like, oh, I can have different cuts of steak. I can put it in different dishes, right? Like, maybe I can have like certain, like shellfish has a similar texture to steak, right? If it's about that, right? If it's about maybe I have other red meats, right? So maybe I have pork or, some other type of red meat, right? Like, you see where I'm going with this of like, if you're just assuming that, oh, I only like steak and you can only have steak to get your antojo like fulfilled, that's not very helpful. Versus when you're like, no, actually, I love red meats and I love the texture, right? Then, okay, that opens up doors. Maybe you're going to try like pork loins. Maybe you're going to have bison, right? Maybe, I don't even know if bison's a red meat, but you get what I'm saying? Like, it opens up more doors. Okay. So now that you've started with what you already know, notice how we went through all of this, and this was shit that you already know. See, I told you, you already know your body. There's so much information already inside that brain of yours. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed. There is a lot to learn about your body. There's always going to be a lot to learn about your body, but there's also a lot that you already know. So with that said, let's get into deepening your understanding of your body sexually. I want you to take some time to explore your body using two different mirrors. You're going to use a full-length mirror and you're going to use a pocket mirror to explore your vulva. So the full-length mirror obviously is for your body and the pocket mirror is to explore your vulva and probably like your anal cavity. I want you to explore your body in the same way that you would explore a partner's. I don't know if any of you, presumably some of you at the very least have had this experience where you've met a new partner and you're really just exploring their body, seeing, what different parts feel like and taste like and smell like and like all of those things. I want you to do the same thing with yourself. You don't have to do this in a sexual way. It's really just like getting to know your body. Right? Just exploring. You might find that as you do this, you want to begin pleasing yourself or masturbating, however you want to phrase it. And you're totally welcome to do this if you want to, but it's not required. You don't have to. The goal here is to get to know your body. It is not to masturbate. That said, if you're going to masturbate, I want you to remember that you're doing this as a means of exploration, not just to get off as quickly as possible. Take your time with this. Again, this is something you're not just doing to check off a list and be done with it. It's exploratory. You can do this over and over and over again. There is really no limit. I still do this to this day, and I know my body very, very well. If you're doing it right and you're doing it long enough, you're going to find something new every single time because bodies change, preferences change, contrary to popular belief. I may do a whole other episode on that. But you will find something new every single time. So as you explore yourself, as you explore your body with a full-length mirror and using the pocket mirror, I want you to ask yourself the following questions. What do you notice about your body? Are there areas you like touched? If so, what are they? And are there areas you don't like touched? What are they? And I want you to keep a log or a diary of what you notice. This doesn't have to be super, formatted or in a specific way. I just want you to note the important things, the significant things that you notice. Again, this is exploratory. You're just collecting data, right? This is just information for you and your brain. It's not a means to an end. But as you do this, you're going to begin noticing things that you can incorporate into your sex life, things that you can modify or get rid of entirely. And this shit is going to change your life forever. And this, combined with the ability to effectively communicate and the skills of rest and rejuvenation, are going to lead you to having mind-blowing sex on demand. So, we've covered a lot today. Go back and re-listen to this episode if needed, and I actually would recommend it because I did cover a lot, and make sure you're writing down the questions that I presented to you. I want to emphasize the importance of taking your time with all of this. I know I've already said it, but I want to reiterate. It is important to take your time with this. As you do this, you're going to begin noticing changes in how you treat yourself, your sexual performance, and your health in general as you do these exercises. So there is no need to rush. You don't have to get to the quote unquote end in order to notice changes. As you do this, you're going to be noticing changes if you're willing to see them. So go in with a place of curiosity of like, what am I going to find? Imagine it like, I don't know, a scavenger hunt or something. Like, what am I going to find? And if one day maybe you don't really find anything intriguing or anything like that, that is okay. But I always want you to approach this from a place of curiosity. And the most important part, don't rush.